In this video, we are going to discuss about area charts. Area charts are also similar to line charts, and essentially they are typically useful in using time series analysis, movement of a certain data point over a period of time. So practically, what can be achieved with a line chart can also be achieved with an area chart. So let's try and work with that. So let's say this is the monthly sales data for a particular entity, which is given January 2013 onwards. We select this entire set of data. How do we select it? We click on Shift, do a right click, Shift plus Control plus down arrow key will give us the entire set of selection. We'll do that again. So let's say we select this set, Shift Control right key, Shift Control down key is what is going to give us the entire data set that we have selected. Right now we go to Insert and we click on area chart. Where is the area chart? So if you see this set of recommended charts, second column, second row, this is what is the area chart as the area suggests. So this is what we can select, and we can take a two-dimensional area chart and select the area chart, which gives us the chart being created. So this is similar to a line chart. If we were to kind of use a line chart in this case, the line chart would appear something like this. We've used an area chart which basically shades whatever is the portion below the line. Right now, what else can be done here? Once again, we'll go to the axis, vertical axis, and try and make some changes here. So we format the axis options come up, and we get the data set in terms of the numbers on axis options. And display units, let's display this in thousands. Right, so the moment we display it in thousands, automatically we have our sales numbers look a much more readable number as we look at them. And then we have this area chart. We can select this and look at what other options could be per kind of potence, right? So we will select this part and click on the fill that can be changed. So if we want, we can change it to a separate fill, which could be, let's say, another color like this. There's a pointer here on transparency. So we can increase and decrease the transparency here. If we suppose increase the transparency to 49-50%, it will start showing what is behind in terms of grid lines as well. Sometimes that might be useful to show the data. Then in terms of data points, you could have could you put in shadows, could you put in colors for the shadows, and so on and so forth, which are also available there. Primarily, all these are ancillary features which are available. You could put a gradient fill there. You could put a pattern fill in the chart. You could just leave it automatic as it was earlier. Borders could also be applied, where you could put a solid line as the border and put, let's say, another color for the border, and you see there is a small thin red line that appears there in the form of the boundary on the area chart. You can do the same analysis, or same applications could be carried out. You could remove the grid lines there to make it more readable. You could change the title if you want. You can also add data labels, but in this case, data labels may not make too much sense, right? So that's broadly in terms of an understanding of what an area chart can do. Practically replicates what a line chart does, with a small preference order here as well, that if you have multiple data series, then typically area charts don't work well, line charts work well. So if we have two companies whose data is given here, then in that case you might find that line charts will do better. Now let's quickly compare area chart versus a line chart in a certain scenario. So let's assume we have the data is given for two companies now, right? So we can select this entire data and we can go and click on Insert and select area charts and say 2D area chart. Now the problem is that you will find that your sales 1 is actually behind sales 2. That's because sales 1 is lower than sales 2. So in these cases, area charts become difficult to use. One thing we can do is probably we can format the data series and try and add transparency to the fill, right? So when we look at solid fill, Let's say we add a little bit of transparency to this, so it gives us a sense of what is series 1 and what is series 2. That could be one option that we use. The other option is straightforward. We go and use what is like a line chart. That makes things slightly easier for us to comprehend, because then we can look at where to use the line chart versus where to use the area chart, right? Everything else remains exactly the same. The other thing we could do is we could use something like a stacked area chart, which we again go back to our initial data that we had used for columns, and we can select this data once again, insert, and instead of putting a direct area chart, we put what is called as a stacked area chart. This is similar to what we had seen in the stacked column chart, just that now it represents in the form of areas. So in case the proportion of something increases dramatically, this probably captures it in a more continuous format. So what we saw on the column chart, the stacked column chart, essentially in a discrete separate columns kind of a fashion, here we are seeing that in a continuous format. We can add chart elements like data labels here, and we can show the data labels which come here, right? And then that represents in each of the months what's happening with the particular sales that we see from a particular region. That's how you can use stacked area charts. Once again, similar features apply on area charts. On the top you find all these different formats of charts that could be used, and you could use those while you finish your area charts. So that's the usage of area chart. That is what essentially finishes our discussion on the area charts bit.